What's going on, everyone? It's thxsomch. Thanks for tuning into this video. Today I'll be going over how I make post-punk and darkwave inspired beats from scratch. And I have this beat here that I previously made, and I'll be showing you how I produced everything from the guitars, drums, bass, mixing, and more. So when I first started this beat, my main inspirations behind this were bands and artists like Molchat Doma and Artemas, and so I just wanted to try and chase that classic guitar-driven post-punk type of sound. Alright, so to start things off, I have my tempo set at 163 BPM. And for these types of beats, I usually like to go anywhere from 150 to 175 BPM or more. And I find that that range of tempos gives like a really fast driving feeling to these beats, so I like to stick between there. So almost every time I start making these types of beats, I start with my bass line. I find that it's the most important aspect of getting the overall track down, and it's really just the easiest part to start with in my opinion. So I believe we're in the key of C minor for this beat. And the first thing I did was basically pull up Serum, and I have this custom bass preset that I made, and I really like how plucky and just resonant this one is. And I basically laid down this really simple bass pattern all in 16th notes, I believe, and that one sounds like this. And one thing I like to do a lot of times with my bass lines is layer them. On top of that Serum bass line, I put this other one shot, and it kind of fills out the space more, so I'll show you that right now. Both of those together sound like this. So moving on after the bass, we got our guitars, and so I played these guitars in live and recorded them directly. So at first I had these guitars as a synth pattern, but I ended up going back and re-recording guitars live because I just thought that would sound better, and I'm glad I did because I'm happy with the way that this came out. So I'll go ahead and show you these here in a sec. And one thing I often do is I'll record my guitars in Logic, and I'll do all my mixing and settings in there, and then I'll bounce it out into FL just to save on CPU and space. And that's basically what I did here, but I'll show you a bit on how I got the sound and my thought process behind that. Okay, so I took the synth pattern that I mentioned before, and I recorded it in as two separate guitars, and I panned them both left and right. So those together sound like this. After that, I took that same guitar pattern and I lowered it down by 1 octave, and I recorded a single pattern of that, and I made that panned directly in the center. And that guitar by itself sounds like this. Okay, and altogether those guitars sound like this. So with those two guitars playing that high octave and panned left and right, along with that center one playing the low octave, it kind of fills out all the space. So lately with my guitar processing and mixing, I've been using Monolith a ton. It's a great new plugin from prod.shadow, and it's designed for all types of darkwave, post-punk, cold wave, and alternative sounds. It's got so many different and unique presets, and I really love it a ton. Genuinely, I've been using this all over my tracks, and it's really a time saver when it comes to just getting that guitar sound that I really want. And like I was saying before, I put this on all my guitars in this mix and bounced them out into audio so I can save on CPU. So those guitar leads that you just heard are playing throughout the hook, but during the verse I also added these guitar chords to fill out some space and just kind of let things chill for a little bit. So I just took some really simple chords here, just going from C minor to G sharp major, I believe, and with my guitar I played those in two different voicings and pan them left and right, and those two together sound like this. So the last thing I did here with my guitars was record some feedback and noise from the amp sims that I was using. So guitar feedback is essentially the amp going back and looping into itself from speakers or a mic source, and it kind of creates these gnarly room tones and just loud sounds like this. And I pretty much wanted to use these as a riser leading into the hook, so it kind of creates some tension before we drop back into the hook. And I recorded these two different feedback tones, and together those sound like this. On top of that, I just put some reverb on them just to give it a little bit more ambience. And I know it sounds weird by itself, but in the context of a song, it sounds pretty cool. And moving on, next we got our synth lead here. I made this little synth pattern here. It's pretty simple, but it sounds like this. So with the synth lead, I made the one shot, and on top of that, I just threw in some analog delays here from ToneFlex using this preset, and I thought that sounded really well. And with this synth lead, I have it playing during the hook of this track just to fill out some more space and add a new element. And before we get into this next section about the drums, I just wanted to take a quick moment and say thank you if you've been watching this video up until this point, and I want to continue making better quality videos, so I appreciate your support. And second, if you're liking any of the sounds that you heard so far in this video, all of them are included in my Midnight Essential Post Punk and Darkwave Bundle that's available now. This is a multi-kit that I made that includes everything from drums, drum loops, one-shots, melodic one-shots, loops, and more. And it's basically everything you need to get started making post-punk and darkwave style beats, and it's got so many unique sounds that I made from scratch, so if that sounds like something you're into, check it out in the description below. And let's move on to the drums here in this section next. So I really like to keep my drums pretty simple with these beats. So this drum pattern consists of a crash, a closed hi-hat, an open hi-hat, some claps, two snares that are layered together, a kick, and then another clap at the end. And altogether, that sounds like this. So when I'm mixing drums, I tend to use drum buses a lot, and everything in red highlighted is my drums. Those are all feeding into this drum bus here, and on top of that, I pretty much just have this preamp from UAD, and then I have this tape simulator as well. It kind of just gets that like gritty analog kind of saturated texture to it, and on top of that, I have all my claps and snares feeding into this reverb, where I have this UAD Capital Chambers reverb, kind of creating some more room tone and some space. I have this snare preset on here, and I thought that sounded pretty well. So all that together is pretty simple, and that is it. So when mixing these types of genres, especially darkwave and post-punk, one thing I find essential is to sidechain my kick to my bass. Sidechaining is a great way to kind of create that pumping effect, and you hear it a lot with these types of beats, so I'll show you how I did that here. Basically, you want to take your kick, come over here, right click and press sidechain to this track, and on my two basses I have Kickstart 2. Kickstart 2 is my absolute go-to with sidechaining. It's really dynamic and just has a lot of great features, and it's super easy and simple to use and set up, so I'll show you how those two sound together like this. So I'll mute everything except my kick and my two basses to show you how that effect works. Like I was saying, it creates that pumping effect and just lets the kick breathe through the bass, so the frequencies aren't clashing as much, and just kind of lets the kick drive the track a little bit more. And as far as instruments go, that's pretty much it. So next I'll show you the plugins that I have on my master. Alright, so first things first, you know I have the Fruity Soft Clipper to start off. Always have that on, pretty much just get some clipping right off the bat. And next I pulled up Saturn 2 and I have that on the default preset. I always love how this sounds on the master. It just kind of adds some saturation and just kind of crunches up the track a little bit more overall. And next I pulled up another instance of the UAD Ampex ATR Master Tape plugin. Again, this is just on default preset setting, and I almost always use some type of tape machine emulator on my master bus just to give it that extra analog feel. And lastly, on my master, I have this UAD manly variable compressor, just kind of hitting the master bus a little bit, not really doing too much, but just kind of gluing the whole track together overall at the end. Alright, and that's basically how I make these types of beats from scratch. As you can see, there's really not too much going on here, and that's pretty much all I did on this beat. Again, really nothing too crazy going on here. I like keeping these types of beats pretty simple, and as you can see, there's really just guitars, bass, synth, some drums, and that's kind of all you need in my opinion. You can really go as crazy or as minimal as you want with this, so I hope you were able to learn a couple of things here from this video and maybe use them in your beats in the future. Again, if you're interested in any of the sounds that I used here today in this video, go ahead and check out the Midnight Essential Darkwave and Post Punk Bundle. That'll be linked in the description below. And I appreciate you all for watching. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one.